You want to write a horror movie? You don't need blood, you don't need monsters, you need inflation. How will the world end? You don't need a meteor strike or nuclear war. You just need inflation. If inflation is high enough, it can turn first world countries into fourth world countries. And it can do that in less than a few years. And in a worst case scenario, it can end the world as we know it, because it will cause panic, extreme scarcity, and lack of resources. And humans will finish the job by doing what humans do best. Now, inflation is not currently remotely close to being that bad, but just like a sickness that starts with a cough and ends with death, or just like a tsunami that starts with a small wave out in the ocean and ends with a tidal wave on shore, crises usually start small. So we need to be aware. And we also need to know the signs of danger. As always, my name is Derek and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. Let's get right into the video. Inflation in 2022 was 6.5%. That is more than 3 times the target rate of close to 2%. And what makes matters worse is that wage growth in that time period was only about 1.2%. You see, inflation is not dangerous at all if wages meet or exceed inflation rates, because in that scenario, even though prices are rising, so is our ability to pay for it. But when inflation heavily outpaces wage growth, we as a people become poorer, literally. We can afford less with the same amount of money. And that is never a good situation. And if we extrapolate, if we imagine a situation where, say, wages decrease, yet prices rise, say 10%, what would happen? And what would happen if this scenario takes place multiple years in a row? Civil unrest? Or perhaps war? Now, I am not trying to be an alarmist. I honestly don't think we are at risk for these things, at least not yet. And at the end of the day, there are people much smarter than me trying to prevent exactly those things. But what if those things aren't preventable? Food for thought. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that life is already not like it used to be, say pre-2020. And on top of that, for those of you that are old enough, did it ever even feel like we fully escaped the Great Recession in the first place? Usually recessions happen, and then growth happens, and then recession happens, and then the cycle continues. And while that technically did happen, did it feel that way for the average American? Or does it feel like we as a country have just been running faster and faster, barely able to escape the looming crisis that's chasing us? I don't know. All I know is that we have serious inflation. We have banking collapses, and we have a huge national debt. And all of that is happening while we are still trying to recover from a global pandemic. And even that happened during a time where it still felt the country hadn't fully recovered from the Great Recession. Now, let me change gears here a bit, because it might sound like I'm calling for doom and gloom, but I am not. In fact, as a nation and as a world, I do think we will fully recover from all of this. I do, in my heart, believe that inflation is temporary, and that by the end of 2024 or perhaps 2025, we will have put the worst of it behind us. But at the same time, we cannot be blind. We cannot just believe that bad things won't happen to us because we are us. We need to be aware of the possibilities, and we need to plan accordingly, at least the best that we can. We need to hold high-yielding assets whenever possible. We need to have safety nets of emergency reserves whenever possible. We need to pay down debts, and we need to save before spending on things that we truly do not need. Now, I know that even saving is hard for a lot of people right now. And I know that a lot of people are barely treading water. And that is okay. If that is you, keep treading, keep swimming, but also keep growing. Keep learning about investing, about finance, and about making money. Don't let your dreams for a better life or a better future die just because they feel out of reach right now. If you feel like you are just treading water, use right now as a time to educate yourself on personal finance. Grow in your knowledge of how the markets work, how money works, how businesses work. Because in periods when it is not possible to build, the best thing that you can do is to learn about building. So when the time finally comes that you can build, you will already be a step ahead of the rest. And at the end of the day, that is what this channel is all about. I love personal finance, investing, and business. And I love being able to share that with you. So if you like personal finance and want to grow in your understanding of it, feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. monthly, and make sure to turn on the bell notification so you don't miss the next video. Again, my name is Derek and I got my degree in finance, so you don't have to. I love you guys and I wish you nothing but the absolute best in your personal finance journey. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day and I will see you in the next video.